How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. We have a huge week ahead. I'm going to keep this very short and cover some of the stuff that's happening now and over the next week. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. While you're down there, there's a link to MargX where you can trade cryptocurrency using leverage. You can long the market, you can short the market. They're giving away a bunch of free money as well. You can actually get in on a free hamster airdrop where you can get up to $5,000. There's also a link to CoinW underneath the video as well, where you have a few more hours to get in on this jungle airdrop. A lot of people have been signing up, starting to deposit, and starting to trade to get some of these free tokens. Usually, there aren't airdrops like this, so you might as well take advantage while you can. Now, the crypto market is looking a little bit quiet here today. Bitcoin sitting at 56,700, just kind of in this range that we've been in for the last few days after we fell down to 53,500. We do have a big week ahead, which is definitely going to influence the market, which I'll talk about. But first, let's go over this. Bitcoin price now around the average cost to mine at the halving across all miners. This is a signal we are at the bottom. Okay, so if you look at these different miners on the bottom, the average price is somewhere around 53,000, 54,000. Obviously, some miners can just mine a lot cheaper. They have cheaper electricity. They have a better setup. They have more scale, like CleanSpark and BitDeer, versus some miners that are mining at $60,000, $70,000. So while there is some capitulation among miners, this typically serves to be a pretty good bottom, the cost per Bitcoin, but this is something that we'll have to continue to pay attention to. Obviously, the hash rate moves around all the time, and typically these companies that cost more to mine Bitcoin capitulate. They sell Bitcoin, they sell their miners to some of these companies like CleanSpark. So we'll have to continue to watch that, but it is interesting how close this was to where we fell just the other day. Maybe a great line to be watching in the future. Mr. 100 is buying some Bitcoin. We covered this yesterday, but he bought more Bitcoin since then. When I covered it, he had just bought one time yesterday, but he ended up buying two more sets of 105 and 102 Bitcoin, continuing to stack. Just look at how much Mr. 100 has added since the 24th, which is about 2 weeks ago. At that point, Mr. 100 had 66,500, just to make the math easy. Now he's at 69,500. So adding about, 5,000 Bitcoin? 3,000 Bitcoin over the last 2 weeks. That's a lot of Bitcoin. Okay, so some people are still feeling very strongly about Bitcoin, continuing to add. Mr. 100 is now the 10th largest wallet on the list. I believe he was just at 11. He's been scaling up. And this is just from November of 2022. I mean, we're talking about 20 months that this person's been adding. And now they're one of the richest Bitcoin holders in the world. A lot of people were watching Germany dump Bitcoin yesterday, and people were talking about how Germany actually bought back some of the Bitcoin. Maybe they realized they can't print Bitcoin, but they can print euros. Now, what actually happened, sounds like, is just that Germany had some limit orders and they didn't get hit, so then the Bitcoin was sent back to them. So it's always important to take these things with a grain of salt. Usually what actually happens comes out a few hours or a few days later. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they actually went and bought the Bitcoin back as much as they just weren't able to sell it at the price they wanted. Now, we do have a couple big events happening this week. As I said, as I promised, we do have the start of the earnings season. It's crazy, start of earnings, but banks are starting to announce earnings at the end of this week. The next week, we'll have more banks, we'll have some tech companies, and then we get really heavy into the top tech companies. I would not be surprised to see some people maybe bring up Bitcoin or bring up crypto, bring up obviously AI. So there's going to be a lot talked about, and maybe some more companies will eventually show that they have some Bitcoin on their balance sheet or some Bitcoin ETFs. So it'll be important to watch that. What's more important this week is that we have CPI and PPI, which are inflation indicators. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that this week. Obviously, that will influence the crypto market, and it will affect Bitcoin's price directly because that will influence the rate expectations, which obviously changes the value of Bitcoin in a lot of people's minds. If the savings rates or saving account rates are going down, people want to allocate towards higher risk assets that will give them a better return. And right now there's about 6 to 7 trillion in money market accounts, high yield money market. So it'll be interesting to see how that cycles back into the risk market, if it does. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. If you do want to trade, there are those links to Margex and to CoinW. There's also a link to Blowfin as well. Blowfin's great, and the people there are great as well. If you want, there is a link to the Bitcoin conference website. If you're going to the Bitcoin conference and you don't have your ticket yet, you can get that ticket underneath the video, and you get 10% off using that code. So definitely check that out. Overall, seems like it'll be an interesting week, so be ready. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.